Hello, guys, and welcome to another edition of World of Strange. And we are talking about UFOs, which is unidentified flying objects as well, yeah. Things in the sky, which are unidentified. That's hence the name. Yeah. So we have a lot of unidentified flying things to talk about. And may I introduce my beautiful panel here, who are going to read these stories out for you and share them with you. We have, in no particular order, we have Tammie Baird.
Hello.
And we have Jake Wardle.
Hello, hello, hello.
We have Adele Jones. Hello. And we have the one and only John Pirruccello.
Hello, love.
All right, mate. All right. And with that, he is actually, strangely enough, John's the first on with one of the most famous cases in UFO history.
Roswell just immediately evokes Roswell. Those people in Roswell, that's all they're known for, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're from who even knows? Has anybody you ever even met anybody from Roswell?
I haven't.
I've never been there. So.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. On June 14th, 1947, William Brazel, a foreman working on the Foster homestead, noticed clusters of debris approximately 30 miles, that's 50 kilometers, north of Roswell, New Mexico. This date, or about 3 weeks, in quotes, before July 8th, appeared in later stories featuring Brazel, but the initial press release from the Roswell Army Airfield, that's the RAAF, there's another confusing acronym, said the find was sometime last week, suggesting that Brazel found the debris in early July. Brazel told the Roswell Daily Record that he and his son saw a, quote, large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber, strips, tinfoil, and rather tough paper and sticks, unquote. He paid little attention to it, but returned on July 4th with his son, wife, and daughter to gather up the material. A little family outing there. Some accounts have described Brazel as having gathered some of the material earlier, rolling it together and stashing it under some bush. And the next day, Brazel heard reports about flying discs and wondered if that's what he had picked up. On July 7th, Brazel saw Sheriff Wilcox and whispered, quote, whispered kind of confidential like. Yeah, sounds like David Lynch, kind of confidential like, that he may have found a flying disc. Another account quotes Wilcox as saying Brazel reported the object on July 6th. So as you were saying earlier, Frank, there's some confusion as to the dates and times here. Wilcox called RAAF Major Jesse Marcel, and a, quote, man in plain clothes accompanied Brazel back to the ranch where more pieces were picked up. Quote, we spent a couple of hours Monday afternoon, July 7th, looking for any more parts of the weather device, said Marcel. We found a few more patches of tinfoil and rubber. On July 8th, 1947, Roswell Army Airfield, RAAF, Public Information Officer Walter Haut, H-A-U-T, issued a press release stating that personnel from the field's 509th Operations Group had received a, quote, flying disc, which had crashed on a ranch near Roswell, as described in the July 9th, 1947 edition of the Roswell Daily Record. And here is the account. The balloon, which held it up, if that's how it worked, must have been 12 feet, 3.5 meters long, Brazel felt, measuring the distance by the size of the room in which he sat. The rubber was smoky gray in color and scattered all over the area, about 200 yards in diameter. When the debris was gathered up, the tinfoil, paper, tape, and sticks made a bundle about 3 feet long and 7 or 8 inches thick, while the rubber made the bundle about 18 or 20 inches long and 8 inches thick. In all, he estimated the entire lot would have weighed maybe 5 pounds. It's about 2 kilograms. There was no sign of any metal in the area which might have been used for an engine, and no sign of any propellers of any kind, although at least one paper fin had been glued onto some of the tinfoil. There was no words to be found anywhere on the instrument, although there were letters on some of the parts. Considerable Scotch tape and some tape with flowers printed on it, my goodness, had been used in the construction. So these aliens were very handy into macro
artsy
collages and so on and so forth. Sound like my daughter. No strings or wires were to be found, but there were some eyelets in the paper to indicate that some sort of attachment may have been used. A telex sent to a federal FBI office in Fort Worth, Texas, quoted a major from the 8th Air Force, also based in Fort Worth at Carswell Air Force Base, on July 8th, 1947, as saying the disc is hexagonal in shape and was suspended from a balloon by cable. Which balloon object, which was approximately 20 feet in diameter. Major Curtin further advises that the object found resembled a high-altitude weather balloon with a radar reflector, but that the telephonic conversation between their office and Wright Field had not, unintelligible is what happens next, borne out this belief. Ooh, that unintelligible word is the key to the whole thing. Probably said, had not, I don't know, he'd probably spoken alien language at that point. Early on Tuesday, July 8th, RAAF issued a press release, which was immediately picked up by numerous news outlets. There are many rumors regarding the flying disc, and they became a reality yesterday when the intelligence office from the 509th Bomb Group and the 8th Air Force Roswell Army Airfield was fortunate enough to gain possession of a disc through the cooperation of one of the local ranchers and the sheriff's office of Chavez County. The flying object landed on a ranch near Roswell sometime last week. Not having phone facilities, the rancher stored the disc until such time as he was able to contact the sheriff's office, who in turn notified Major Jesse A. Marcel of the 509th Bomb Group Intelligence Office. Action was immediately taken, and the disc was picked up at the rancher's home. It was inspected at the Roswell Army Airfield and subsequently loaned by Major Marcel to higher headquarters. Higher headquarters. All right. Now, I don't understand any of that, so I think it's all a big cover-up. They purposely confused me. Right?
A cover-up? No one's ever said that before.
I think that we are complicit in this cover-up by doing this broadcast.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I love
60 years or so.
What I take away with that is flowers. Like, I love the arts and crafts. Who knew? I had no idea.
Aliens.
Thank you, John.
That is it. Further gives credence to the idea that we are aliens. We were put here by some alien species of craft makers and artisans.
Alien artists.
There's a couple of things there I'll just add to the mythos of the story. A lot of things happened after that incident, some years after. In fact, Jesse Marcel didn't even talk about it for 30-odd years and after the fact. And he was convinced that there was definitely a cover-up because he was at the press thing when he had to hold up the debris to be photographed. And he said that wasn't the debris they saw on the field. This was something.
Oh, wow.
He reckoned they'd been duped and they'd been given like bits of wood and tin foil. He said some of the stuff they saw at the wreckage was not like that at all. He said there was metal there that you could bend, squish, hammer it, drill it, everything like that, and it would pop back into perfect piece again.
How does he know that he could drill it if he didn't remove it from the site?
He managed to get a bit of debris from there.
And he hasn't hung on to it? He didn't keep it?
He gave it to his, he handed it down to his son, Jesse Marcel Jr., and he started talking.
And Jesse Marcel Jr. has that medal?
I think he does, yeah.
Well,
All right,
that
we
would be
need him to
significant.
contact us. We need to send a to Jesse Jr. and have him contact us and see if we could see it.
Either that or
show us the metal on the webcam.
either that or he was witness to it because he was a young boy at the time, when it happened.
I don't need him to have witnessed it. I just need to see it. I want to see it.
I need to drill it. I need to get my drill.
Put a blowtorch.
Okay, so we need him to come to LA. I'll supply the drill, and he just needs to bring the product, and we'll view it. And John, you get to drill it.
This is going to be groundbreaking. I'm sure everything's going to change after this.
Then I'll put it to the ultimate test with the green glove.
That's it. You have to punch it out a few times.
Yeah, and I'll worry about it, and Adele can be very firm about it because she knows.
You'll be taking reports about it and stuff. This is what's we
She's
tried.
the highest ranking officer we have.
Yeah,
Be very military about it.
She's the only officer. No, John, you're an officer. Sorry, I forgot because you're.
Send your reports to the colonel. Yeah.
Yes.
I like whispered, kind of confidential. That's my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, it sounds a bit.
Yeah, you know what I like when you said that?
Confidential, you know what I mean?
David Lynch.
You went to a voice like whispered, kind of confidential, and then I was like, oh, you started it, but then you didn't go with it. I was like, is he gonna whisper? Like, hey kids, here's what I got.
Whispered, kind of confidential.
It's a bit confidential.
Yeah.
Really like that, you know what I mean? In your shell, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. All right, shall I read? Let's see where I am for timer. I'm good. All right, let's do this.
Right, Tam, I do believe it's you next.
Let's do Tammie's cold read for the day.
Yes. It's Tammie Baird with the Phoenix Lights.
Yeah, the Phoenix Lights, 1997. The Phoenix Lights were a mass UFO sighting, which occurred in the Phoenix, Arizona, and Sonora, Mexico on Thursday, March 13th, 1997. The lights of varying descriptions were reported by thousands of people between 7:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. in a space of about 300 miles, that's 480 kilometers, from the Nevada line through Phoenix to the edge of Tucson. There were allegedly 2 district events involved in the incident, a triangular formation of lights seen to pass over the state and a series of stationary lights seen in the Phoenix area. The United States Air Force later identified the second group of lights as flares dropped by A-10 Warthog aircraft that were on training exercises in the Barry Goldwater Range in southwest Arizona. Ball field size, coherently moving dark UFO stars and would disappear the object and then reappear as it passed by. At this first event, the V, remember the V that I talked about earlier that was several football-sized fields? The V, which appeared over the northern Arizona and gradually traveled south over nearly the entire length of the state, eventually passing south of Tucson, was the apparently wedge-shaped object reported by Governor Symington and many others. This event started at about 8:15 p.m. over the Prescott area and was seen south of Tucson by about 8:45 p.m. Do you want me to go into the second event? Because it kind of goes together, John. Or Frank, excuse me, I'm sorry. I looked right at you and called you my friend John. You do have a doppelganger, just so you know. The second event was the set of 9 lights appearing to hover over the city of Phoenix at around 10 p.m. The second event has been more thoroughly covered by the media, due in part to the numerous video images taken of the lights. This was also observed by numerous people who might have thought they were seeing the same lights and those reported earlier. The U.S. Air Force explained the second event as slow falling, long burning LUU-2B/B illumination flares. dropped by a flight of 4 A-10 Warthog aircraft on a training exercise at the Barry Goldwater Range at Luke Air Force Base. According to this explanation, the flares would have been visible in Phoenix, and they would have appeared to hover due to the rising heat from the burning flares, creating a balloon effect on their parachutes, slowly slowing the descent. The lights then appeared to wink as they fell behind the Sierra Estrella, a mountain range to the southwest of Phoenix. So does that make sense, Adele? Like the reason I said the first event and the second event, because the lights were, everything was seen at the same time in two different areas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. By multiple witnesses, apparently.
I mean, there were multiple witnesses, and what I find very interesting is that the governor at the time, who was one of the witnesses, said, "Oh, no, that didn't happen," but later on said it did indeed. And we all know how when you're in certain positions, you can't speak up about certain things, or, I mean, he would have got ridiculed. He's, a governor, he might have got the pressure to be like, dude, you can't say that. You know, no one will take you seriously.
That guy you're talking about, there is actually video footage of him on YouTube somewhere of that guy who later admitted he was wrong for doing it, for what he did. He did this press thing where he had to talk about the thing. And then it was all like a set-up stage thing, because next thing he turns over there and this guy comes in a really bad alien outfit and marches through the thing. And it's like he was mocking the whole thing. You know?
Really?
And then later on after that, he actually retracted that and said, I think that was wrong of me. I shouldn't have done that. I think there could be more to this than meets the eye, and that, But the
interesting.
Publicity stunt on the news, I think it was, when he actually did the press conference.
How close after the event did this take place? Because this happened in 1997.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, it was that year. Yeah, it was that time.
Oh, okay.
5 years later, it was actually around that time, and you can see it. It's somewhere on. I did see it on YouTube somewhere about that. And,
interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah,
it really is interesting too, because depending on our time, there's certain things that people will speak up about and certain things that people are more open to discuss. In 1997, I feel like it was probably not socially acceptable to discuss this, whereas now people are a little bit more open to things,
Yeah.
Actually, that's exactly what I was going to say. I don't know how many months ago it was, though, that they were talking about the budget for, research of artificial intelligence in the U.S. and whether they were going to take it away or give more to it. And also that somebody would report the account of that so many years later, because actually just yesterday in the news, speaking of Arizona, there was a report on Time that did you guys see this? American Airlines pilots, a pilot of one American Airlines plane and the other one of Jet something or other, I don't remember the name of it, think, along with the air traffic controller, that a UFO passed them a month ago. And it was
really
in Time yesterday. And this is about Arizona. And you're like, okay, well, that's sort of more recent reporting. People are talking about this stuff and even talking about a budget. Who would do that nationally before? We didn't hear them talking about that stuff. So
exactly. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't heard that. Thank you.
Yeah. They said there was a pilot who something passed him 3,000 feet above, and he radioed to the traffic controller and said, "Is there somebody up there? Is somebody up there?" And they said no. So that traffic controller contacted another plane, this American Airlines jet that was 15 miles out or something, and said, "Can you let us know if you see something?" And a minute later, he said, "Something just passed me." And then the article, but it wasn't a plane. I don't know what it was. They said, was it hovering or moving? And I think the guy said, I don't know. And then the article noted that this specific base that was being communicated with actually has communication with so many different organizations that might have something drone or something up in flight that if it had been something that we're aware of, we would have known. So, yeah, you guys, all you have to do is Google Arizona UFO pilot and you'll find it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Adele.
Oh yeah, there's audio of it.
Yeah, there's actual audio of
the audio.
The pilot's talking to air traffic control.
Yeah.
And they're saying, and one of them actually says UFO on the actual recording because he can't describe it as anything else. He doesn't know what it is. Because he said it was 2,000 or 3,000 feet above their airplane. And it was above them flying, and they couldn't work out what the hell it was. And it wasn't any craft that they had out there. They were checking all the what flights were out there, and there was nothing matching up.
Yeah.
And there were 3 different aircraft that saw this and reporting it back. One being one with all the passengers, as you said, American Airlines, and 2, I don't know what the other planes were. Were they not military? Were they? I don't know what they were. They weren't passenger.
I don't know what it was. I'm not sure.
The other, I don't think they were passenger craft, conventional passenger ones. One was, and the other 2 weren't. They were something else, but they were all reporting it this at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, I love this.
Arizona. What's Arizona?
Yeah.
Why are we going to
Some
Arizona?
strange stuff going on over that Arizona desert. Yeah.
Something
weird going on there. Isn't that where Area 51 is supposed to be? Have you ever heard of that? Is that Arizona?
It's New Mexico, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Mexico. Yeah. Mexico. Yeah.
No,
it's not meant to exist, but it is there. But something's there on the map anyway. But
the other plane was a Learjet for Phoenix Air Group.
Ah, there you go.
I'm not sure what that means in terms of what was on it. So
yeah, that's interesting. When you get multiple people seeing it, that makes it much more intriguing.
Hey Google, where is Area 51 located?
Oh, Nevada.
Oh, it didn't. Hey Google, where is Area 51?
I've passed it before.
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
They've censored it.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Nevada,
you guys.
Siri won't tell you. It's that secret. I think you're right. I think it's meant to be. It's Nevada, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Now I want to know the times of year and the months and the weather during the time of these UFO visits in Arizona. It's all similar.
Yeah, is there a pattern?
Yeah.
Okay, if anybody's watching this right now and wants to do that research for Adele, we would so appreciate that.
Well, we could do that, but unfortunately, this is a live recording.
No, I love it though, because then when everyone watches us later, they can put the comments underneath. And we
let's get them doing a bit of work for us. Yeah.
I'm always trying to participate. I'm always trying to get everybody to be involved. Come on,
who wants interactive?
Do it for Adele, you guys. Do it for Adele.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But actually, Adele, you've got a really intriguing story.
I do.
That happened over here in the UK, which is supposed to be the equivalent of the British Roswell.
In late December 1980, there were a series of reported sightings of unexplained lights near Rendlesham Forest, Suffolk, England, which have become linked with claims of UFO landings. The events occurred just outside RAF Woodbridge, which was used at the time by the U.S. Air Force. USAF personnel, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, claimed to see things they described as a UFO sighting. The occurrence is the most famous of claimed UFO events to have happened in the United Kingdom, ranking among the best known reported UFO events worldwide. It has been compared to the Roswell UFO incident in the United States, and it's sometimes referred to as Britain's Roswell. The Ministry of Defense stated the event posed no threat to national security, and it therefore never was investigated as a security matter. Evaluation by scientific skeptic Brian Dunning and science and astronomy writer Ian Ridpath concluded that the UFO reports were due to misinterpretations of nocturnal lights, a fireball, the Orfordness Lighthouse, and bright stars. So on December 26th, the event. I see what you're talking about, Tammie. On I have 2 events as well.
Okay.
On December 26th, around 3 a.m., 1980, this is reported as the 27th by Holt in his memo to the UK Ministry of Defence. A security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights, apparently descending into nearby Rendlesham Forest. These lights have been attributed by astronomers to a piece of natural debris seen burning up as a fireball over southern England at that time. Servicemen initially thought it was a downed aircraft, but upon entering the forest to investigate, they saw, according to Holt's memo, what they described as a glowing object, metallic in appearance, with colored lights. As they attempted to approach the object, it appeared to move through the trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. One of the servicemen, Sergeant Jim Peniston, later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin while in the forest. Although there was no publicized mention of this at the time, there's no corroboration from any other witnesses. Shortly after 4 a.m., local police were called to the scene, but reported that the only lights that they could see were those from the Orfordness lighthouse, miles away on the coast. After daybreak on the morning of the 26th of December, a couple hours later, servicemen returned to a small clearing near the eastern edge of the forest and found 3 small impressions. They were in a triangular pattern, as well as burn marks and broken branches on nearby trees. And at 10:30 a.m., the local police were called out again, but this time to see the impressions on the ground, which they thought could have been made by an animal. Georgini Bruni, in her book, You Can't Tell the People, published a photograph of the supposed landing site taken on the morning after the first sighting. Then on December 28th, the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, visited the site with several servicemen in the early hours, and this was reported actually as the 29th by Holt, so it's all a day later in his recollection. They took radiation readings in the triangular depressions and in the surrounding area using an ANPDR-27, a standard U.S. military radiation survey meter. The significance of the readings they obtained is disputed. Holt recorded the events on a microcassette recorder. It was during the investigation that a flashing light was seen across the field to the east, almost in line with a farmhouse, as the witnesses had seen on the very first night. The Orfordness Lighthouse is visible further to the east, but in the same line of sight. Later, according to Holt's memo, 3 star-like lights were seen in the sky, 2 to the north and 1 to the south, about 10 degrees above the horizon. Holt said that the brightest of these hovered for 2 to 3 hours and seemed to beam down a stream of light from time to time. Astronomers have explained these star-like lights as bright stars.
Well,
bright stars.
What do you think of that?
That's awesome. I mean,
these sightings are normally quick.
Yeah.
But, this one was like 2 to 3 hours. Those lights.
Yeah, over a couple of days. You know, like it came. The first and it came back that second time when they all went out there into the woods and witnessed it. Like quite a few of the military, and Charles Holt actually recorded what he was experiencing on the tape recorder, and that's actually available to listen to online. As he was there, he was dictating onto a tape recorder. So there's audio of them actually in the woods when they're seeing this thing, or wherever it was. You know, it's coming at us. It said it's coming at us through the trees. It's got an orange tinge to it. It's reddish. It's glowing. It's hovering slowly through the trees, making no noise. And
it's got beams beams.
It's hard to know. I don't know. I mean, what's the colour, Jake? A lighthouse beam is? It's just generally just white, isn't it? Or is it?
It was just white.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have orange and red and blues in it. But this is what they were seeing apparently. So I don't know.
I think it's interesting that there is this audio video. Numerous people, eyewitnesses see stuff. This gentleman you said, he was doing audio video as it happened, yet people could still say, no, that's not what happened. Like, I think it's, I don't understand how you could, he said it, he's recording it as he's seeing it.
Yeah,
I know
the cassette was 100% genuine. It was authentic. It was him there talking, and it was from that period, and he was talking. You hear a couple of the other soldiers sort of speaking to him as well, and he's just recording what he's seeing basically as he was. So it was actually as it was happening, he was talking, which is very unusual.
Yeah, well,
you don't normally get that kind of evidence. It's always after the fact or whatever.
Right. And it's so cool. But my point being is, like, here's this gentleman, he's recording it as he's seeing it, yet people can be like, that's not what you saw. Yet somebody could record a double rainbow and everyone's like, oh my God, that's so amazing. You saw a double rainbow. And they don't discredit that. It's interesting how certain people just cannot fathom or wrap their head around things or accept what people...
But there were pictures taken as well. There were still pictures taken as well. And all them have been taken away by the command, this independent group that came in, that questioned the soldiers, apparently, interrogated them about the incident, and took all photographic evidence away. So that's not available. But the audio recording was done by Holt, and he must have either got a copy of that done or what, I don't know what happened, but it's still available. So.
And can you tell us what the weather is like in this area?
You want to weather report?
No, I love it.
Well, I could do it in the David Lynch voice for you, if you like. Today, it's sunny in LA. It's maybe a bit of a wind. Yeah, but it's perfect. And it's not Bastille Day yet.
It's cloudy with a chance of woodman.
John Chad is an absolute bugger, but I love working with him.
I love it.
I mean, it's nothing as boring as it's just an aircraft that we don't know about yet. That's quite boring, really, isn't it? I'd rather it be
but I think people's reactions to that kind of stuff is interesting to me too. Like, just like the fact that whether there's UFOs or not is interesting, and also sort of like how, the people that believe in them and don't believe in them and whatever, like that whole drama is interesting to me as well.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Yeah. Some people are just adamant, like, oh, no, don't even talk that gibberish, Terry. But I love it. I love the open, like, why not? I love the possibility.
It's a weather balloon or a satellite or something or whatever.
Exactly.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'm never comfortable. If I feel I know something is true, right? Like it's never a comfortable feeling for me to be like, oh, I know what happened. I don't think I've ever felt like that about anything, even like whether I'm here or not.
Yeah, I'm not completely certain that we're all here now.
You know what I mean? Like the whole idea of being, knowing how things work or whatever is it doesn't sit well with me.
Absolutely. It's an amazing thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a mystery kind of person. I feel like all of life is a.
You're in the right show then.
Huh?
You're in the right show. You're in the right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the right show. That's exactly right.
That's right.
Whereas actually this new guy that I play in the HBO show that's on right now, he would be the opposite of me, right? Like, and he feels like there is an answer to be found. There's an inherent truth. It's not like I don't. It's not like I don't strive for the truth. It's not like I don't believe, I tend to think like there is justice. I will seek justice as if it's real. I will live this life as if it matters, as if death is real, It's not like I'm going to take that stuff for granted, but I'm just saying it, whether I know things to be true or not. But anyway.
Yeah. And I think Mr. Jake here is going to talk to us about not the band, but the actual real name of Foo Fighters.
It's a perfect story for me. I actually saw a documentary about Foo Fighters when I was a kid.
Go for it, Jake.
Yes, so Foo Fighters. The term Foo Fighter was used by Allied aircraft pilots in World War II to describe various UFOs or mysterious aerial phenomena seen in the skies over both the European and Pacific theatres of operations. Though Foo Fighter initially described a type of UFO reported and named by the US 415th Night Fighter Squadron, the term was also commonly used to mean any UFO sighting from that period. Formally reported from November 1944 onwards, witnesses often assumed that the Foo Fighters were secret weapons employed by the enemy. The Robertson panel explored possible explanations, for instance, that they were electrostatic phenomena similar to St. Elmo's fire electromagnetic phenomena, or simply reflections of light from ice crystals. The term Foo was borrowed from Bill Holman's Smoky Stover by a radar operator in the 415th Night Fighter Squadron, Donald J. Myers, who, it is agreed by most of the 415th members, gave the Foo Fighters their name. Myers was from Chicago and was an avid reader of Bill Holman's strip, which was run daily in the Chicago Tribune. Smoky Stover's catchphrase was, "Where there's Foo, there's fire." In a mission debriefing on the evening of November 27th, 1944, Fritz Ringwald, the unit's S2 intelligence officer, stated that Myers and Ed Schloter had sighted a red ball of fire that appeared to chase them through a variety of high-speed maneuvers. Fritz said that Myers was extremely agitated and had a copy of the comic strip tucked in his back pocket. He pulled it out and slammed it down on Fritz's desk and said, "It's another one of those fucking Foo Fighters," and stormed out of the briefing room.
Very nice, Jake.
I'm looking forward to reading that.
That was spot on there, Jake. That's a good American accent you got.
Thanks,
there, buddy.
It was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah.
That was spot on.
The first sightings occurred in November 1944 when pilots were flying over Western Europe by night. When pilots flying over Western Europe by night reported seeing fast-moving, round, glowing objects following their aircraft. The objects were variously described as fiery and glowing red, white, or orange. Some pilots described them as resembling Christmas tree lights and reported that they seemed to toy with the aircraft, making wild turns before simply vanishing. Pilots and aircrew reported that the objects flew formation with their aircraft and behaved as if they were under intelligent control, but never displayed any hostile behavior. However, they could not be outmaneuvered or shot down. The phenomenon was so widespread that the lights earned a name in the European theatre operations. They were often called Kraut fireballs, but for the most part called Foo Fighters. The military took the sightings seriously, suspected that the mysterious sightings might be secret German weapons. But further investigation revealed that German and Japanese pilots had reported similar sightings.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool. I never knew. Isn't it funny that you'd listen to that band for all these years, and I never bothered to look at the etymology of that?
Yeah, it was the same with the Black Eyed Peas the other week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I was thinking the same.
The Black Eyed Kids. And
oh, right.
Eyed Peas, but
I like the other name for them, Kraut fireballs. That's an American pilot's term, obviously.
Yes.
Americans would call the Germans Krauts. If it was a British pilot, it would be Jerry Fireballs.
That's it,
right.
Jerry.
Yes, damn Jerry Fireballs.
It's o'clock.
Yeah. That was awesome. I was thinking the same thing. Like, I never thought of what the Foo Fighters, how they got their name. So I was the same.
It's amazing, isn't it? And so the band took their name after that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it kind of reminds me of how I don't know if I'm going to go off the deep end here or not. I might, but it just sort of reminds me about how like life imitates art and art imitates life, and we sort of draw from art into life and vice versa, to the point where I would not be surprised to find out like the Star Trek, communicators or whatever, the flip thing turned into the flip phones, and sort of automatic opening doors and stuff sort of comes from the imagination and then becomes real. And, just maybe then the leap would be, that we sort of maybe manifest some of this stuff. I would not be surprised if there's some element of manifestation that goes on with, and that's what's going on with UFOs even, right? Like the more we sort of think about it and look for them, the more we're almost creating them. I told you I'd go off the deep end.
I like it.
Yeah.
I agree in the attraction of energy. And also just to speak about like UFOs and what we haven't talked about, the life inside of it. Have you guys heard of Valiant Thor? Do you know who that is?
No.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. I read up on that recently as well, Adele, about that. Yeah, that's
so Valiant Thor is an alien who I think Frank Strange's, who passed away in the last decade, finally came at the end of his life and talked more about this publicly. But several people corroborate the story that President Dwight Eisenhower in 1954 met with Valiant Thor, and that he came to Earth off of this, UFO, and that he was actually hidden by the United States for 3 years. He didn't have fingerprints. There's lots of stories about him and many witness accounts. So, but I think that they didn't start talking about it until the last 20 years. I could be wrong about that. But all you have to do is Google, Dwight Eisenhower, alien, extraterrestrial, or Valiant Thor, and you'll find the information about him.
I mean,
he was acting. He came with a bunch of papers or information. So we housed him. I think the Air Force housed him and used him to get intelligence for 3 years. That's so and then awesome. He returned. Yeah.
Wait, so they recruited an alien spy.
But he looked human though, Adele, didn't he?
He did look human, but there were some differences. But he did look human. And Frank Strange's, I think, was the last person still alive that had met him, and he passed away in the last decade. But talked at length about it.
Does that make him a legal alien if they took him in?
And it sounds like he had plenty of documentation, so he was a documented legal alien.
No, it just made me laugh because it reminded me of when I was applying for the O1 visa, and the wording and like the questions, it's one of the questions that always stuck in my mind was like, where is the alien currently located? And my head was Area 51.
On the flying disc.
You're in Nevada.
Did anybody else see the parallel to American Dad? You guys watch that cartoon show, American Dad?
I've seen some of it. Yeah.
They harbor an alien in the cartoon.
Oh yeah, that's right. They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got American citizenship now. Yeah.
I watch every cartoon show.
Yeah.
Well, that's Seth MacFarlane. That's worth watching, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Some of it's funny stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Tammie Baird again, with a recent phenomena that you may well know about, John, as well. I think you actually showed me a photo of this incident.
Ooh, all right. A space satellite launch sparked a brief U.S. Oh my God! Let me learn to talk. I have had a lot of coffee this morning. All right, a space satellite launch sparked a brief UFO scare in Los Angeles on December night in 2017 after startled viewers gawked at an unidentified streak of light soaring across the night sky. Observers flooded Twitter with pictures and videos of the strange vessel, and they speculated that aliens were finally making their long-awaited debut. Anyone else see that UFO, that hashtag UFO in LA just now? Tweeted one shaken resident. WTF is that? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Others brace themselves for I can't believe I can't say this word. Help me, guys. ET is a
extraterrestrial.
extraterrestrial, that yes, visitation, and shielded non-believers forever doubting the presence of life beyond the stars. Everyone is downtown. It says everyone is downtown LA was pretty freaked out, reported one witness on Twitter, adding that crowds cocks heads skyward to view the phenomenon. But to a mix of relief, disappointment, other tweeters quickly debunked the UFO theory, noting that the jellyfish-shaped object was in fact part of Elon Musk's SpaceX satellite fleet. The Falcon 9 booster rocket, which carried 10 satellites, launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base around 5:30 p.m. California time en route to destinations across the globe. Elon Musk just scared the F out of me, tweeted one shaken Los Angelino. Did you see that, John?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
We were at Disneyland, actually. Not by choice for me. I do not.
Yeah. December Disneyland, I don't think anyone goes there by choice. You go for the love of family.
It's only for the kids.
Well, my girlfriend Julie and her family they grew up around here, and they are huge Disneyland people. So they do a Christmas dinner at Disneyland Village every year, and then they all stay the night and then go to Disneyland the next day. I did that the first time, and I was such a pain in the ass that I'm not allowed to go back anymore.
You haven't been invited.
No, I was disinvited to stay the night and go to Disneyland. So I go to dinner. I behave myself as best I can, and then I go home. But yeah, we were standing out there waiting, and that flew across the sky, and it was quite dramatic. I mean, for one thing, the speed in which it was moving, and secondly, just the plume of smoke, how huge it was. I've never seen anything like, well, the closest thing I'd seen is just like maybe 20 maybe years ago or something up in Oregon. I walked out to take a piss in the middle of the night up at my uncle's place, aunt and uncle's place in Oregon. And I was standing out there in the middle of their field. They live out on Sauvie Island. It's like remote, right? And all of a sudden, it's always the speed that is so different, right? Because usually when things move across the sky, even a plane going 600 miles an hour looks extremely slow. And this thing was moving very quickly across the sky. And I was like, whoa. And I thought I was looking at a UFO. I mean, I really did. I ran upstairs and got my camera and tried to take a picture of it, put the aperture way open, to have it be open for 5 seconds or whatever. And I think I got a little bit but anyway, that turned out to be the space shuttle. And this thing at Disneyland turned out, of course, to be SpaceX or whatever, to Elon Musk. But you know what that makes me think of is, why? Like, I know that the Twitter sphere lights up, and I know the Twitter sphere is a relatively new thing. I get that, but there was just the amount of witnesses to it was so enormous. Like we can see. So even before Twitter, why would that be different? If there was some UFO event like that, why wouldn't there be a similar kind of number of people seeing it? Why, Why aren't we seeing that? Why are there only, it was like, some farmer and his pigs, out in the middle of on a farm, were the only guys that saw it. Like, why is that?
Well, there was the Phoenix Lights thing that Tammie read out earlier as well.
I know, but it just seems like it's like there would be more. With the internet, we should if UFOs are real, maybe that's what's happening right now. If they're real, then we're going to hear more about it because more people are going to see them and they're going to be able to immediately share what they're seeing with each other.
Well, I think even if we could all be up there seeing it, and there's still going to be someone who's going to go, nah, that's not what you see. That's a blimp. That's a something. I mean, there's always going to be people who don't believe. You either believe or you don't. Exactly.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I love it. I love all of this. I want to say, I think that your girlfriend missed the perfect opportunity, John, to dress you up as Grumpy
Oh, wait! It's very funny that you say that. Give me 1 second. Talk among yourselves.
Okay.
I'll be back in 3 seconds.
Okay. When he was saying that he was, trying on his best behavior, I was like, oh my gosh, when you go to Disneyland, I believe everyone should dress up or something, whether you just wear a hat.
One of those hats.
To have her own dwarf.
Like one of the 7 dwarf hats. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say you have to come next year, and everybody's going to dress up like dwarfs, and we know that he's going to be grumpy. Yes.
He has got a grumpy mug.
There's my mug that she got me.
Yeah.
And
beneath, what's that?
And she calls, because everybody has their princess, right? Like, who's their princess? And Grumpy is my princess.
You're her Grumpy Bear.
So she got me a Grumpy T-shirt as well, where it's like, whatever, I'm grumpy.
That's funny. Yes.
I wear it proudly.
As you should.
Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure again, as usual. So I'd like to thank, in her absence, I'd like to thank Adele Jones for being here. Considering the fact she wasn't very well, but she's a trooper, mate.
She is.
And she came on and did a great job. And also, my friends here, Tammie Baird, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jake Wardle.
Thanks again for having me on, Frank.
You're welcome. And, of course, who can forget John Pirruccello.
Thanks, Frank. Always a pleasure.
Never a chore. As they say over here. Well, thanks, guys. And we are reaching the end of this marathon run of 6 episodes. Our next one is going to be our last for this foreseeable future. And it will be about the Slender Man.
Oh, wow.
So I hope that you'll join me then. And thanks very much, guys, for listening. We'll see you soon on the next World of Strange. Until then, sleep tight.
Bye, guys.
Wow.